Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Coach, that's a great segue right into kind of our next topic about culture building, because to me, it's like you're right on the money. Based on their hard work, they probably still make a jump and improve. Yes. But to what degree? It's kind of like a greenhouse. Like you could plant seeds just anywhere, and if they got enough sun and it rains occasionally, it's going to grow. Right. But you stick something in a greenhouse where all of the factors are right and perfect, and then you've got great seeds working hard. Man, you just give it the greatest opportunity. And that, like, to me, it's a great example of culture does. One of the things we like to do, we have, I stole it from TJ Rosine at Emmanuel, which he's a good guy. He's one of the best, right? And so like anything he does, it's like, okay, I've got to look at that and see if I can adopt it. But he has these different things that they focus on every day. So like Tuesday is Tough Tuesday. So at the beginning of our athletic period, we get in groups of 2 or 3, and I try to have them in different groups with different ages every week. But hey, fellas, listen, this is 30 seconds to a minute where you're just going to share something tough in your life.
I'm writing this down. So
yeah. That's yeah, you're just going to share something tough in your life. And I always tell them, guys, you can be as surface level as you want, but you want to have a real relationship with somebody. You go a little bit deeper. And there's nothing wrong with letting someone else know, another human being know that you're struggling in an area. And I always say, like, hey, just 30 seconds to a minute. And I mean it, Coach. Almost every time I'm looking it down on my watch, and it's like, all right, 3 minutes, 4, and I'm watching every group, eye contact, standing. I bring them in at the end. I was like, guys, was that a waste of time? And across the board, like, no, Coach, like that's it. You know, and like it's just what you talked about. This has to matter. This has to lead to winning and improvement. And so culture building activities, there are so many different types, but maybe what's one of the ways that one of the things you use in your program to build those relationships up?
Yeah. And you mentioned TJ. I'll just tell a quick story. We played each other this year in Hawaii.
That's cool.
And he had, the name is escaping me, but I think he had the leading scorer in the country.
Oh, right? Wow.
And they made the NCAA tournament. We had a terrific game in the last day in Hawaii, but so we're kind of in this convention center, and I never met TJ. So it's a big convention center where they kind of build the court over there, and you kind of have little dressing rooms around this huge convention center. So, you're in this little dressing room. All right, the guys are warming up for 30 minutes. You're just kind of sitting there. So I walk outside our little dressing room, and so is TJ. He's doing the same thing. We talked during the whole warm-ups. It was terrific. And then, okay, I'll see you out on the court. They beat us by 3, so I got to get back at TJ. But he's like a coach's coach. Like you just want to sit and talk and learn from him. And yes. With my time with PGC, anytime I get to be around him, it's like one of those dudes that I try not to act like I'm a fan. Like we're friends, we've worked together, yes. But like I still sit there like this is TJ. Like TJ does, yeah. I'm just not cool at all in those moments. TJ he's just a quality guy. And
all right.
So culture building. So we do kind of like similar to your Tough Tuesdays, which we may be stealing. This is why we talk. We do bio night. And so and I think this is one of the best things that we've done. So if you and I were paired up, Matt, right, and maybe try to get some of the older guys with some of the newer guys, or maybe guys that aren't, clearly not roommates, guys from, And so we do this in the fall. And so I have to present you and I have to learn about you. And so however the guys want to present, however I need to present you with pictures and
That's
videos
cool.
and just commute talking to the crew. And so then everybody has to ask questions throughout the night. You just can't sit back there and not answer. So you have to ask 5 questions throughout the night. So, and it takes time and some, I always ask questions of every guy, but those can get emotional, of presenting. And, sometimes it gets into, oh, Matt is a fan of the Dallas Mavericks. And okay. But sometimes a good amount of times it'll get into the family. We start asking questions because how many teams get in there? 1, 2, 3, family. Sounds great for the fans, maybe. But if you're really trying to build, and people like to say culture, and it's probably one of those things like, it's hard to define culture like leadership, but when you see it, and I think that if you ask our players about bio night to start the year, those nights will go like you just said about Tough Tuesdays. You give them a minute, and 5 minutes in, you're like, okay, this is going great. It's cutting into practice, but that's okay. And bio night is like that for us, where we really get to know. I have to interview you, I present you, then we ask you questions about certain things, and all the players have to ask. And some for some players, and then they get to learn about me and kind of all right, about Coach Cook. Now they have only 18 years of life to talk about, right? And I have 50, but we try to cut to the chase, but they get to learn about my background too and where I'm coming from. We do that. We also do the Enneagram as well, which kind of we get personality traits. So we really try to get to know them, like those things. So, I need to be coached differently than you. You can get on me, maybe, or vice versa, right? All of that stuff. And I think those are things we do at the beginning of the year. But bio night, I can't even tell you who I can give credit to. I saw it I read it somewhere, how they did it. And I'm like, okay, I think it was like my old GA, who's now at Arizona State, was at Santa Clara. I think Santa Clara did it. I think I stole it from those guys probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I think that's a great start to the year to kind of build that culture. And as you know, that's an everyday thing. That is an everyday thing of you can't take a day off from culture building. And I think that's but the bio night is probably our favorite culture building activity.
I want to unpack that a little bit more. I think you're right on the money though with that. It's an everyday thing. And I think maybe the art behind it is not necessarily spelling it out every day, which like, hey guys, culture moment here. We're going to talk about culture right now.
That's inauthentic.
Maybe that's one way to do it. But with our standards, the way we show up, the way we talk to each other, the way we train, the way we run in, like we are still working on culture. We're still giving those reminders. We're still modeling. So, but I love activities like that specifically are those memory moments.
Right.
Like when things are tough and you're looking over at that teammate that you just can't stand right now, that memory moment clicks back to a story you heard about him, and like maybe it helps get you past whatever you're feeling in that moment. And I love the fact that you have them present someone else, because I would imagine one reason I love doing this podcast is I get to ask you questions. I get to learn about you. I don't really want to talk about me very much. I hope that comes.
I want to learn about you.
I hope that comes off that way, because I hope I didn't just say that and people like whatever. Like it's always no, but I think people in general will leave things out, will be reluctant to share, reluctant to brag. Maybe it's false humility or it's actual humility, whatever it is. But when you say someone else is going to do it, all right, well, let me actually think about me and my story. Oh, this is good. Share this. And you just get to sit back and let it happen. I think that's a huge piece to it.
100% agreement. And it takes some work, right? I mean, like all you have to do is turn on the TV and it's divisiveness.
Yeah.
That's it. How, you got to pick a side. So this is what your kids are seeing, my kids are seeing. They flip on a channel and you're on this side, you're on that side. And it's so how in all of that, that's why one of the many reasons why I've always loved basketball. Right? It was all about, right, can you play? It didn't matter race, color, creed, ethnicity, political views. Can you play? And then that's how it all started. And then, all right, how do we bring a team together that's got, kids from Independence, Louisiana, and Copenhagen, Denmark, and they got inner city, metropolitan. I've always just loved that about basketball. But then it takes the work of the coach to try to, all right, how do we feel like we can play? We got good players. How do we bring them together? And that's, the winning is important. We all want to win. We talked about that. But those pieces of that educational component, the culture building, the everyday little check-ins, tough Tuesdays, like that, I think that's all great. I'm sure you do the same. Start every day. Like, tell me something you learned today. Tell whatever that day is to make everyone to bring people together, bring this team together is it's hard, and it's probably gotten harder, right? As in the times that we're living in, but it's unbelievably important, and because it's going to get tough out there. These games are going to get tough, and can you look into the guy's eyes next to you and feel like we got this, we're in it together, we can do this, and you hope that what we're doing at your level, at my level, they build up some of this scar tissue and toughness and they build that up. So when real stuff happens to them, we've helped them deal with some of that adversity, that toughness, and we hope we're doing the job in that. And I think that culture, that belonging, that team, we're all looking for that, but that's not easy.
Yeah, well said, man. And I think there is this objective measuring stick to every season, and we talked about it early on in this time of, did you win? Like, what was your record? How far did you get? Like, there is a way to evaluate your season like that. Unfortunately, for a lot of coaches, that's how their job gets evaluated. But internally, when I look at myself in the mirror, I think this is more the measuring stick that we should hold for ourselves is, how well did you take those individuals that come from different backgrounds and that were strangers and get them to believe in each other, care about each other, die to self, believe in something bigger, take the ups and downs throughout the year, and then at the very end of it, have some awesome experiences, like you just said, that'll lead to success in real life. No matter if you won or lost, got fired or you keep your job, the challenge, I think, is that we measure ourselves with that type of measuring stick.
Totally agree. And I listened to Jeff Van Gundy on another podcast, and he talked exactly about what coaches need to get better at, that about modifying success in a sense. Did you bring the team to the highest level that you could? In the NBA, that may mean that you were 42-40 this year, but to everybody else, you were 42-40. Coaches need to do better. I when I used to times I've spoken at TABC, or one of the things, like we walk around that, like almost like I walk around what my record is, right? Good to see you, Matt. I'm 13 and 17. And I got my
it's one of those years. I could tell.
Yeah, I'll tell you one quick story. So what my son's godfather is back in New York, right? And he coached a Division III team, and I was coaching junior college team back in upstate New York. And Vince Medici is his name, and we've known each other forever. So Vince had a tough year. I think they were probably like 6-22. Us that year, we were like 31-1. We had a really good team. And we saw a kid that we used to coach at camp. We were at the state tournament. I saw a kid that we used to coach at when he was a little kid at camp. He came up to both of us and he says, "Coach Medici, how was your season?" He's like, we were 6-22. And we had injury. All the kids like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." "Coach Cook, how was your season?" "We were good. We were 31-1. "Oh my God!" That's all he heard. It was 6-22 and 31-1, and that's life. That's where we probably have as coaches where people talk about, you should get fired, right? Oh, they should get fired. Their record wasn't good enough. Fired. That's a tough. It's a tough profession that we chose.
But the challenge, I think, I see a little bit of a challenge. Like, we want our players to be mentally tough. We want our players to really believe in the standards, the pillars that we have.
Yeah.
We need to do the same. So, like, if enthusiasm is one of our pillars, enthusiasm shouldn't be dependent on our wins and losses.
Yeah.
Enthusiasm shouldn't be dependent on how many threes we made in a certain game. Right. And I think that's a great kind of question, is when someone asks me how our season went, what does my answer really say? Right. I think like what am I really communicating with? Yeah, it was okay. It was all right season.
Right.
Like, what does that mean? And or even if because honestly, Coach, if I'm being just where I thought we could have been, we underachieved.
Right.
But if I'm trying my best, even with the way I answered your question earlier, great season. Like, I loved them. Like, they did great. Them. There were things though that I thought would be different. I thought would be better. But the whole idea is not that I have it perfect or anything, is can we be bigger than our record and look at more than just that objective success?
Matt, that is so hard.
Yeah.
All right. And we know it. We know that we're more than the wins and losses, but that's how we've just almost been trained our whole lives. How did it go? We won. How did it go? And we know that people's attention spans are probably very, 240 characters of how did it go? Once you get past, we're at the Final Four. How did it go? We were 21-11. That's about all people, really want to hear, what your record was. How did it go? And that is a hard thing of, like I said, of Jeff Van Gundy. Coaches need to be, did they get their team to the highest level that certain team could? And we need to judge ourselves more on that instead of we were 21-11 this year. It was a good season, right? And it's a hard thing because that's how we've always been trained. How did you do? We won. How did you do? We lost.
And I think a great goal is, I'm not going to mention my record at all, because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but it just from those standards, 20 plus wins. But I'm not going to mention the threes, because I did throw that out there, didn't I? I had to pepper that into, I did it, but I'm not going to mention any of that, and I'm going to mention more about how we cared about each other, how we showed up. And I wonder the reactions that you get. I wonder if you get more of all right. Or a follow-up question. Well, but did you make playoffs?
Did you make the playoffs? I know. Hey, I have, I have my former assistant coach. His name is Trey Lindsay, and he took all over for the legendary CC Collier at Bowie. He played for CC, right, 2 miles down the road here from St. Ed's. He played for CC, left me, had a baby, moved, changed jobs, and his record was 17-13 this year, and he did a marvelous job. I went to about 8 games. My son's going to be in his program next year as a freshman, and Trey, I love, and he's so hard on himself. He moved, new job, because they didn't make the playoff, right? And I'm like, Trey, you got 17 wins out of that team, and it's easier from outside looking at it. I've been doing it this first year as a head coach. He did a great job with that team, but even to get 17 wins, I think he had a game he had to win to get into a play-in for the playoffs, and just how we're. But maybe when he's 10 years down the line a little bit.
When that Rick Torbett rule comes in, he'll get it.
Like you talked about, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.